Did you know that something as simple as the way you sleep could be putting your life at risk without you even realizing it? Millions of people make this mistake every single night, believing it's harmless, when in reality, it can increase the chances of a heart attack or a stroke. The most alarming part? You might be doing it yourself, without even knowing. Tonight we're exposing a nighttime health danger that almost no one talks about. Doctors know it's real, but most people ignore it. Every evening, millions go to bed making the same mistake, convinced it's harmless, when in fact it could be quietly increasing the risk of a heart attack or stroke. What makes this even more alarming is that you probably do it too, without realizing the damage it causes to your body over time. In this video, we'll break down exactly what this mistake is, why it's so dangerous, and how you can fix it before it's too late. Now let me share something that will change how you think about bedtime forever. Recent medical research has revealed that people over 60 face dramatically increased risks during sleep, not from the obvious culprits like sleep disorders or chronic diseases, but from everyday routines that seem completely innocent. These nightly patterns have been linked to sudden, unexpected deaths that leave families devastated and doctors scratching their heads, unable to provide satisfying explanations. The statistics: every few minutes, someone over 60 passes away in their sleep from causes that could have been prevented with simple knowledge and minor adjustments to their evening routine. What's most disturbing is that many of these individuals appeared perfectly healthy just hours before. They had normal blood pressure, strong hearts, and active lifestyles. Yet something in their nightly habits created the perfect storm for tragedy. Let's start with the first critical mistake that's claiming lives across the globe: the temperature trap that's lurking in bedrooms everywhere. You might think that staying warm and cozy is the key to good sleep, but the reality is far more complex and dangerous than you imagine. When your sleeping environment becomes too warm, your body enters a state of stress that can prove fatal for aging cardiovascular systems. Here's the science that will shock you. Temperatures above 72 degrees Fahrenheit force your heart to work significantly harder throughout the night. Your body desperately tries to regulate its internal temperature, but after 60, this natural cooling system becomes less efficient. Your heart pumps faster, your blood vessels dilate and constrict unpredictably, and your blood pressure fluctuates in ways that can trigger catastrophic events. Medical documentation shows hundreds of cases where nighttime cardiac episodes occurred in bedrooms that were simply too warm. The victims had no prior warning signs, no chest pain, no obvious symptoms. They went to sleep in what felt like comfortable conditions and never woke up, all because their aging hearts couldn't handle the extra workload of temperature regulation during those crucial overnight hours. But temperature is just the beginning of this deadly puzzle. The second mistake involves something as basic as hydration, but with a twist that will completely change your perspective on evening fluid intake. You've probably been told to stay hydrated, to drink plenty of water throughout the day. This advice is generally sound, but when it comes to the hours before bedtime, the timing of your fluid consumption can literally mean the difference between waking up refreshed or not waking up at all. The human cardiovascular system undergoes significant changes after 60. Your heart's ability to efficiently manage increased blood volume diminishes, especially during the deeper stages of sleep, when your body's regulatory mechanisms are at their most vulnerable. When you consume fluids too close to bedtime, you're essentially asking your aging heart to work overtime during the very hours when it should be recovering and rejuvenating. The medical evidence is undeniable. A substantial percentage of sudden nighttime deaths in people over 65 occurred on nights when individuals had consumed more than normal amounts of liquid in the evening hours. The mechanism is terrifying in its simplicity. Your kidneys continue processing fluids while you sleep, increasing blood volume at a time when your heart is least capable of handling the extra load. The result can be fluid buildup in the lungs, irregular heart rhythms, and in the worst cases, complete cardiac failure. Now we come to the third deadly mistake, one that affects nearly 3/4 of the population over 60, the position of death that millions unknowingly assume every night. The way you position your body during sleep might seem like a matter of personal comfort, but for aging adults, certain sleep positions create mechanical stress on vital organs that can prove fatal over time. Sleeping on your right side creates a compression effect on one of your body's most important blood vessels. This massive vein carries blood back to your heart, and when compressed for hours at a time, it forces your cardiovascular system to work against increased resistance. For younger individuals, this might cause minor discomfort or restless sleep. For those over 60, it can create a deadly scenario where the heart struggles all night long against an obstruction it cannot overcome. The most terrifying aspect of this positional danger occurs during the early morning hours, typically between 3 and 5 o'clock. This is when your body's natural stress hormones are at their lowest point, creating a window of extreme vulnerability. Your heart, already strained from hours of working against positional compression, enters a state where even minor additional stresses can trigger catastrophic failure. The fourth mistake involves something that should be helping you stay healthy: your medications. If you're taking prescriptions for blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol management, there's a high probability that you're following dosing schedules that could be putting your life at risk during sleep. Most physicians recommend morning medication schedules, but emerging research reveals that this timing can create dangerous medication valleys during the overnight hours. Your blood pressure naturally fluctuates throughout the day and night in predictable patterns. When you take blood pressure medications in the morning, their peak effectiveness occurs during daytime hours when you need it less, and their lowest effectiveness coincides with the early morning hours when your cardiovascular system is most vulnerable. This creates a perfect storm where your medication protection is weakest, precisely when your body needs it most. The documented cases are sobering. Individuals who had been successfully managing their blood pressure for years suddenly experiencing fatal episodes during sleep. Not because their medication stopped working, but because the timing of their doses left them unprotected during critical overnight hours. The rebound effect, as morning medications wear off, creates a dangerous window where blood pressure can plummet to life-threatening levels while consciousness is suspended. The fifth mistake centers around dinner habits that seem healthy, but can prove deadly for those over 60. You've likely been advised to eat lighter meals in the evening to avoid heavy foods before bed. While this advice has merit, taking it to extremes creates its own set of lethal risks that most people never consider. When you significantly reduce your evening food intake, you set up a dangerous scenario that unfolds during the pre-dawn hours. Your blood sugar levels naturally drop during sleep, and if you haven't provided adequate fuel through dinner, this drop can become a precipitous fall that triggers your body's emergency response systems. The hormonal cascade that follows is like injecting stress chemicals directly into your sleeping cardiovascular system. Your body interprets this blood sugar crash as a survival threat and responds by releasing powerful hormones designed to raise glucose levels quickly. These same hormones also dramatically increase heart rate and blood pressure at a time when your aging cardiovascular system is least equipped to handle such sudden demands. The result is essentially a panic attack occurring while you're unconscious and unable to recognize or respond to the warning signs your body is desperately trying to send. We've only scratched the surface of these hidden nighttime dangers. There are 3 more critical mistakes that we haven't discussed yet, and the final one is so unexpected, so universally present in modern bedrooms that it will fundamentally change how you prepare your sleeping environment. These remaining dangers work together with the 5 we've already explored, creating compound effects that multiply the risks exponentially. The 6th mistake has been silently claiming more lives than daytime heart attacks, yet it remains completely overlooked by mainstream medicine. This deadly error involves something you probably consider a virtue, something you've been praised for your entire life: your wake-up schedule. If you're rising before 7 in the morning, believing you're maintaining healthy habits, you could actually be programming your body for a catastrophic failure. The science behind this revelation is both fascinating and terrifying. Your body's internal clock, refined over decades of life, undergoes dramatic shifts after 60. The hormonal symphony that governs your cardiovascular system operates on precise timing, and disrupting this natural rhythm creates chaos that your aging heart simply cannot withstand. When you force yourself awake during those crucial early morning hours, you're essentially pulling the emergency brake on a system that's already struggling to maintain balance. Here's what happens inside your body during those pre-dawn moments. Your stress hormones surge to unnatural peaks. Your blood pressure rockets upward by dozens of points, and your heart rate accelerates to levels that would be dangerous during vigorous exercise. The difference is that during exercise, you're conscious and can recognize warning signs. During DEWS, this cardiovascular assault, while your awareness forced early awakening, your body inless against the internal storm, is still emerging from sleep, leaving you defense attacks in people over 60, a chilling pattern, the vast majority of heart. Medical data reveals during that window when early 5 occur between 6 and 9 in the morning, precisely coincidence. It's theater alertness. It's not risers are forcing their bodies into PREM mechanisms that have evolved to shield us during direct result of disrupting natural circadian protection, our most vulnerable hours. But even this devastating mistake pales in comparison to the 7th error, one so pervasive that it exists in virtually every bedroom across the modern world. This is the mistake that keeps cardiologists awake at night, not because they understand it fully, but because they're only beginning to grasp its deadly implications. We're talking about the invisible enemy that surrounds you as you sleep: electromagnetic radiation. Your smartphone charging on the nightstand, your wireless router humming in the background, your digital alarm clock glowing beside your pillow, your television in standby mode. Each of these devices bathes your bedroom in electromagnetic waves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For younger individuals, the body's natural defense systems can generally cope with this constant exposure. But after 60, something changes dramatically in how your cardiovascular system responds to these invisible frequencies. The heart operates on its own electrical system, a natural pacemaker that coordinates billions of muscle contractions throughout your lifetime. Recent breakthrough research has revealed that electromagnetic radiation interferes directly with this biological electrical system, particularly during the deepest stages of sleep when your nervous system's protective barriers are at their weakest. The interference creates microscopic disruptions in heart rhythm that a younger, more resilient cardiovascular system might easily overcome. For aging hearts, however, these tiny electromagnetic disruptions become the final straw that breaks an already strained system. Long-term studies following tens of thousands of people over 60 have documented shocking statistics. Those who sleep within close proximity to multiple electromagnetic devices face hundreds of % higher risk of sudden nighttime death compared to those who maintain electromagnetic-free sleeping environments. What makes this discovery even more alarming is how these electromagnetic effects amplify every other mistake you might be making. If you're already stressing your heart with improper temperature, poor hydration timing, dangerous sleep positions, incorrect medication schedules, and inadequate evening nutrition. The electromagnetic interference becomes the catalyst that transforms manageable stress into fatal overload. But there's an eighth factor that will completely reshape your understanding of nighttime mortality in older adults. After years of investigating thousands of cases of unexpected sleep deaths, researchers have uncovered a pattern that defies conventional medical explanation. These deaths don't occur randomly throughout the month. They cluster around specific times that correspond to lunar phases, with dramatic increases during full moons and new moons. Before you dismiss this as superstition, consider the scientific foundation. Your body is approximately 70% water, the same proportion found in Earth's oceans. Just as lunar gravity creates tides in vast bodies of water, it also affects the fluid dynamics within your body. During extreme lunar phases, the gravitational forces create subtle but measurable changes in blood pressure, circulation patterns, and cardiovascular stress levels. For most people, these lunar influences remain below the threshold of clinical significance. But when you're already compromising your cardiovascular system with the 7 deadly mistakes we've discussed, these gravitational fluctuations can provide the final trigger that pushes your heart beyond its capacity to recover. It's not mysticism. It's physics acting on a body that's already been weakened by poor nighttime choices. The interconnected nature of these 8 factors creates what medical researchers now recognize as a cascade effect. Each mistake amplifies the dangers of the others, creating exponential rather than additive risks. Someone making just 2 or 3 of these errors might experience manageable cardiovascular stress during sleep. But as the number of mistakes increases, the combined effect grows dramatically, reaching levels that can overwhelm even hearts that appear healthy during daytime medical examinations. Understanding these hidden connections explains why so many nighttime deaths seem to come without warning. The victims often pass routine medical tests, maintain active lifestyles, and show no obvious signs of cardiovascular distress during waking hours. But their nightly routines, seemingly innocent and even health conscious, create the perfect conditions for tragedy when their bodies are most defenseless. The most heartbreaking aspect of these discoveries is how preventable every single death becomes once you understand the underlying mechanisms. Simple changes to bedroom temperature, hydration timing, sleep position, medication schedules, dinner habits, wake-up routines, electromagnetic exposure, and awareness of lunar influences can transform a dangerous sleeping environment into a sanctuary of true rest and recovery. What makes this situation even more critical is that most people discover these truths far too late. The subtle nature of these nighttime dangers means that damage accumulates gradually, silently, over months and years, before reaching the tipping point where recovery becomes impossible. Your body sends increasingly urgent signals, but they're often so mild that they blend into the background of everyday life until that final night when all systems fail simultaneously. Think about the last time you felt unusually tired after what seemed like adequate sleep, or when you woke with unexplained aches and stiffness. Consider those nights when you found yourself restless without obvious cause, or mornings when your energy felt completely drained despite spending 8 hours in bed. These aren't just signs of aging or stress from daily life. They're your cardiovascular system's desperate attempts to communicate that something fundamental is going wrong during your most vulnerable hours. The medical community has been slow to recognize these patterns because they challenge conventional approaches to cardiac health. Traditional medicine focuses on daytime symptoms, stress tests performed while you're awake, and treatments designed to address problems when you're conscious and active. But your heart doesn't stop working when you fall asleep. In fact, the overnight hours present unique challenges that require entirely different protective strategies. During sleep, your body undergoes a complex series of repairs and maintenance processes. Your immune system becomes more active, your brain clears accumulated toxins, and your cardiovascular system attempts to recover from the day's stresses. But this recovery process requires specific conditions to function properly. When those conditions are disrupted by the 8 deadly mistakes we've identified, your body's natural healing mechanisms become sources of additional stress rather than restoration. The temperature mistake alone forces your heart to work overtime when it should be resting. Combined with improper hydration timing, your cardiovascular system faces a double burden of temperature regulation and fluid management that can push it beyond sustainable limits. Add dangerous sleep positioning, and you've created mechanical obstruction that turns every heartbeat into a struggle against compression and resistance. Layer in medication timing errors, and you've removed chemical protection precisely when your body needs it most. Factor in inadequate evening nutrition, and you've set up hormonal chaos that floods your system with stress chemicals during the hours meant for recovery. Include forced early awakening, and you've disrupted the delicate timing that allows your body to transition safely from sleep to wakefulness. Finally, surround yourself with electromagnetic interference, and you've created electrical disruption of the very systems that coordinate your heart's life-sustaining rhythms. When lunar gravitational forces add their influence to this perfect storm of cardiovascular stress, the result becomes tragically predictable. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope as well. Every single one of these factors is completely within your control. You don't need expensive medical procedures, complex treatments, or prescription medications to address these risks. The solutions are simple, practical changes that you can implement starting tonight. Changes that cost nothing, but can add years to your life and ensure that you wake up healthy morning after morning. The key insight that transforms this frightening information into life-saving knowledge is understanding that your bedroom environment and evening routines are just as important as your daytime health choices. The foods you eat for dinner, the temperature you maintain in your sleeping space, the position you choose for rest, the timing of your medications, and the electronic devices you allow near your bed all play crucial roles in determining whether you'll wake up refreshed or whether you'll become another tragic statistic. What's particularly encouraging is that small adjustments often produce dramatic improvements. People who implement even 3 or 4 of the protective changes we'll discuss often report immediate improvements in sleep quality, morning energy levels, and overall sense of well-being. Their bodies recognize and respond to the reduced stress load, beginning recovery processes that had been suppressed for months or years. Now you possess knowledge that could literally save your life and the lives of those you love. These 8 silent killers have been claiming victims for far too long, hidden in plain sight within our most trusted sanctuary, the bedroom. But armed with this understanding, you have the power to transform your nightly routine from a deadly gamble into a foundation for longevity and vitality. Don't wait until tomorrow to make these changes. Your life may depend on the choices you make tonight.